Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk Spoop. I'm your host, Don. I'm showing off the goods, excuse me. And this is the month of Dismember. I thought it was a clever pun, so we're rolling with it. Today on Let's Talk Spoop, or for the month of Dismember, I'm going to be putting out multiple, I don't know how many, just however many I feel like doing, Christmas theme horror films, with the exception of this film, our opening to the month of Dismember. We're going to talk about Terrifier 2, which is a movie that I have been looking forward to watching and reviewing pretty much since it came out. I just didn't have the time to do it in October, and then November I was really burnt out because of Evil Bong. So I ended up doing it last month, so we're going to open up with the month of Dismember with Terrifier 2, which I watched on Screenbox, which I did a review before on Screenbox, the streaming service. If you are a horror movie fanatic like myself, strongly recommend you check out Screenbox. It's got a huge library, a lot of B horror films that you can't find anywhere else. I've done a few reviews for different movies on there. I've really enjoyed them for the most part. I've yet to run into a movie on there that was an absolute stinker. I have seen some of their shows that are less than appealing, but their movies are usually pretty freaking good. Also, it breaks things down into different categories of horror, which is something that's just missing overall when people talk about horror movies, is they don't accept that horror is a broad spectrum of movies. So, with that quick review of something I've already reviewed, we're going to jump on into Terrifier 2. As per usual on Let's Talk Spoop, I break things down into 6 separate categories. Those 6 separate categories are story, acting, music, atmosphere, look, and finally, creep. So, without further ado, as I already said, let's jump into Terrifier 2. So it opens with cops driving around, some kids playing in a dirty alley, and then you see Art the Clown, who is the killer from the first Terrifier movie. Murdering. So he, at the end of the first movie, spoilers, he winds up in the morgue and he comes back from the dead. So at the beginning of the second movie, we see him come back from the dead. So he gets up. He's still disfigured from shooting himself in the face. He has missing one eye. He's got a wound in the back of his head. That sort of stuff. So he proceeds to write his name in blood on a mirror, and then murder the coroner, and steal the coroner's eye. It's really brutal. And then he replaces his own eye, which was damaged when he shot himself in the face, with the coroner's eye. And then there's an odd scene of him in a laundromat and a little tiny female version of him essentially interacting with each other, but only he can see her. Then we segue to our opening credits of the main character right there, Sienna, making a super badass Halloween costume. She's clearly a person who enjoys cosplay, and she made a really cool costume. She eats with her family. We find out that her brother is obsessed with Art the Clown, so he wants to dress up with him as him for Halloween. He's kind of weird and obsessive about murder and death, which we later find out is because of how their father died. Sienna then has a weird clown-related dream, and then in her dream, she gets attacked by fire, and then part of her costume that she was working on, the wings, burst into flames in her bedroom. Then we get to Art building some weapons like we had in the opening for the first Terrifier movie, and watching the broadcast of the interview with Victoria, who was the survivor from the first movie. It's also a callback to the opening of the first movie. Then both brother and sister have weird interactions with Art. Then we get some exposition. And their dad may have been a psychic. And then we get some murder and some partying. This is a weirdly esoteric first slasher film. I kind of feel like I need to see it again to see if it can make more sense to me. It kind of reminds me, completely different movie, but it kind of reminds me of the movie Sucker Punch, where it's just like there's a lot of stuff that's going on and it doesn't really make sense on the surface level. And it's like a movie that I feel like if I really want to understand it, I probably need to watch it again, but I'm not even sure I would understand it if I watched it again. So I can appreciate what they were trying to do with kind of this esoteric of battles, good versus evil, demons, stuff like that. But it's really messy, so it doesn't quite click the way I would like it to. So 3 out of 5 for story. Acting, also 3 out of 5, a little bit above average. Nothing too spectacular in the acting department, except that Art is the guy who plays Art the Clown is just phenomenal at being a creepy clown. So other than that, nothing too special about the acting. Music, the Clown Cafe song is really catchy. But other than that, nothing really to talk about for the music, so 2.5. As per the usual for music. Atmosphere. This is a gross and morbid, engaging initially, but then it kind of loses. It loses you. So, it loses the thread, I guess, is how I want to phrase it. So initially I was really engaged, and then as the story the movies kind of progressed and the story moved along, because like I said earlier, it's weirdly esoteric, and I didn't quite understand what was going on the whole time. It kind of lost me. So 2.5 for atmosphere. It's also way too long. This movie is 2 hours and 18 minutes long. That is an absurd length for a slasher film. Like, really long for a slasher film. Yeah, so too long. So for that, 2.5 out of 5 for the atmosphere. Look, this movie is gruesome, gross, gory. I loved it. Talking to Jeremiah, apparently people were like throwing up in the theaters when they went to see this. People walked out because it's just so gross. I loved it. 4 out of 5. Creepiness. There is a little bit of creepy stuff, especially the little clown girl, because clowns are creepy already, but like a little clown girl that like is morbid and gross is just made a little bit extra creepy. So 3 out of 5 on a creepiness factor, to give you a grand total, a final score of 3.2 out of 5 skulls for Terrifier 2 that you can watch on Screenbox.